Greetings, my movie ghouls. Welcome back to our 5th year Halloween countdown. 31 films in 31 days. Haven't said that yet. I'm Nate, the Ultimate Movie Geek, and I'm joined by Mrs. Movie Geek once more. Tonight we watched Dark Encounter from 2019. So let's get on. Directed by Carl Strathy. It's a fairly interesting alien abduction film. And we're following this family who live, it's near a woods, isn't it? In America. And it's been a year since their daughter was disappeared, was taken. Yeah. So we get a lot of footage of say, the sky at night, stars moving, don't we?
Yeah, like satellites.
Is it satellites though?
So you pick it up and it's a sort of an extended family sat having lunch, and a year's passed since the young daughter, who's probably about 10, I'd say, vanished from the home. They don't really know what's happening. They're still putting posters up. And they're still pleading with the police. And they're
trying to close the case as well and issue the death certificate.
Yeah, and the uncle is one of the sheriffs, isn't he? He's a police officer. So there's basically the mum, dad, their eldest son, a couple of uncles, and their wives, and they're all sort of sat having a meal, and they're all really upset still. And you can tell the family is falling apart. It's been a year. And quite often, you know, sadly, when you read something bad's happened to a family, it's lost a young person, they don't tend to survive, you know, often it ends in divorce and split families.
And it seems to be quite a highly strung meal, doesn't it? Like, the father's
constantly having a go at
the eldest son.
His son, he's just ripping into his brother about stuff, saying he'll never make anything. And the son storms out. The only person I know acting wise is it Laura Fraser, who is sort of the main female lead, and she was in A Knight's Tale. She was the Ironmonger. That's not the right thing, is it?
Ironmonger. Who made the
she makes his armour.
Ironmonger, is that right?
I don't know. Anyway, she's in the person I know in it. Blacksmith, that'll do. It's probably an easier way of saying it.
The other woman in it is she was in Hot Fuzz. She was the one who worked at the superstore. It was Mr. Skinner to the office or something like that.
Filing the nails. And it kind of is. They go out into the woods. There's a load of lights, isn't there?
The father sees it, and he sees a load of lights in the sky, and he wants to go out all on his own, doesn't he? Yeah. And then everyone sees him because I think they're worried about him, aren't they?
Yeah, because they probably think he's going to kill somebody.
And he grabs a gun, doesn't he?
It's like he's got nothing to lose. He's losing his family. He's already lost his daughter, and he's got. It's like he just doesn't want to live, type of thing. You can tell he's really depressed. He gets his gun, and it's almost like the Wolfington Brothers out of Signs.
I was going to say at this point in the film, I was thinking, it's just a cheap knockoff of bloody Signs, isn't it?
So they insist, don't they? All the men go with him. So there's an older sort of paternal figure. I don't think it was the granddad. I'm not sure who it was. It was possibly an uncle. So he was an older guy with the father. Sort of his.
That was
his
brother.
Brothers.
Wasn't it?
No, I don't think so. It could have been. It could have been an older brother anyway. So there's like 5 of them that go out. They drive out into the woods. The women are left back at the house with the younger sort of lad who's in his teens. And they they don't get separated by far, but one lot are sort of over there and the other lot are here. And there's this basically huge light that forms on the van, and the old guy gets out and he's like looking around, and then the guy's shouting to the younger guy. Oh no, the younger guy's with him.
Yeah,
and
he's in the car, he's outside the car.
And he's just gone.
Don't know where he's gone.
Don't know where he's gone.
And the cop, the sheriff
so
guy.
The other group, which is the sheriff, who's the uncle, the younger uncle, and the dad, all together, and they're like, they can see all these lights sort of going
flying around,
and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Then they hear the shouting, so they go back to the van. The sheriff sort of has some sort of moment where he just he's not with it, and they sort of have to grab him, and he sort of comes back but screams, doesn't he?
And he's upset, and he's
and he acts really strange.
Things.
So they get him into the van. They can't find the older paternal guy.
Yeah.
They're shouting him. They go back to the house. It's obviously not too far from the house, but once they get back to the house, it's just all carnage breaks loose.
Yes, it
doesn't it? And again,
lights
it's very,
in the house.
very, very signs.
Yes, and it,
the
again,
banging, the walking around, the trying of the door, and the try to like put stuff up out
chimney,
there. There's a chimney.
Loft.
The cellar.
There's a lot of moments in this that are from science. And you can't deny it.
No.
They do elaborate more. They go into the cellar, and then but there's a hatch out as well, and then there's more lights down there.
They even look under.
Yeah, they
use
a knife
I was like,
to look under something.
It's taking it too far.
And is that when she's looking up the chimney?
Yeah.
That bit. But there's a lot of stuff happening, and they're all being picked off one by one.
They're sort of being separated, aren't they? And then one will just go missing, and then another one will go missing. It was literally down to three of them.
Three of them, yeah.
It was down to the younger uncle, the mother, and her son.
Yeah.
And they sort of have they have an experience, don't they?
Yeah. Well, you see, they disappear, don't they? They see something coming out of the closet, and I think that's the only glimpse you get of the alien or whatever. And we're spoiling this because it's 2019. Do we want to go into too much detail? Should we just spoil it? Spoilers. Just beware. So then it then jumps into, I'd say, Interstellar territory, where there's a great shot zooming out of the Earth, out into God knows wherever.
Out of the galaxy.
And it's one of those where you're like, oh my God, we're so small. We're so small. Where are we going? And then she's in a house.
But she's in the house still. She's in the house.
Yeah.
But she's seeing, and it goes back to the day her daughter disappeared.
So, but she's not in it.
She's an observer.
She's an observer in the house, looking into the house.
Yeah, like a projection of the house.
And that's what I mean. It's almost like Interstellar, where he's in the bookshelf. But she opens the front door to get to her daughter, and it's just the universe outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it's almost like a cell.
Yeah.
And I love that design. I think it's brilliant.
It was very clever.
Yeah.
And she basically watches everything that happened the day her daughter went missing, and
it's one of those where you're like, you
want to kill the guy, and it's actually one of the family members, and he rocks up and he's talking to her, and he almost doesn't do what he's going to do, and then he does it. You don't see that part, thankfully. It's quite,
Yeah. You don't need to show
You don't
it
need
because
to. He shuts the door and you know what's happening, and you know what happens, and then he sort of carries a body out, and it follows him, doesn't it? And she's still like it's bizarre, and then all of a sudden they kind of all wake up, don't they? She goes to lie down because she's overcome with grief and raw emotion, and they're kind of all
in the same place where they disappeared, and the back.
They're all back in the same house, and they're all back there, and they've all had this shared vision.
Yeah.
And they all are looking at each other, and then they find we won't say which one it is, but they find the family member who's done this thing, and he's just looking at him, and he doesn't know what to say, does he? Because he's seen it as well, and it's it was really, because up to that, like about halfway through, it was quite good. And then I thought, oh no, it's just a rip off of Signs. It's nowhere near as good as Signs, and now it's getting dull. And then it totally threw it on its head.
Yeah, just completely
threw it on its head. And it wasn't, they hadn't come and abducted this girl. Aliens and some interdimensional beings were involved, but only to show them
us, to guide
what
us.
has happened. And that was the only reason sort of they were there, and they'd come because they were wanting to show the mother, because they could see it was sort of tearing them apart. But then, like, people, well, we've missed a bit actually, because they actually, when there's only the three of them left, they managed to get out so far to get to the police, and the police are like, what the hell's gone on here? And they sort of go,
because it's not just them.
No, and they'll say, we'll come back. look, stay here. We'll
Yeah.
we'll put a report. So we're going to do this, that, and the other.
You go
We'll
back
come
to
back
the
in a couple of hours, and then
station,
that's
don't
where they go off, and they all have this shared vision, and they all come back. And as the sheriff is getting into the station with the other guy,
there's 100 odd people
there's
outside.
100 people outside the station, and everyone's like, oh my god, we can't believe that this has happened, and we've seen the missing girl. I'll call her Sarah. I don't know if she's called Sarah. And they've all had the same vision. And even one of the sheriffs goes,
oh yeah, I've got to make a statement
she's like,
as well.
I need to make a statement about something that I've seen. But that's what everybody's there for, and they've shown everybody in this town.
Yeah, it's not just limited to this family.
No,
it's the whole town. And I thought that, like you're right, it was middling. It was there. It filmed nicely, acted nicely.
Yeah, it started
but then
plateau.
It just stepped up. It stepped up its game, and it's an entertaining film, and it's one that is quite memorable.
I don't think it's been done before. Something
like
that. Not that I've seen. And it was a really different take. She just thought it was going to be about aliens, abduction, nasty aliens coming and taking people, and it actually wasn't really about that. It was really, really quite good. I did enjoy it, and there was bits. Again, you could tell it's a certain budget. It's not a big budget movie or anything like that, but I think it was well done.
Yeah, it was well done.
Yeah, and the actors were really good actually, and I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Just because of the complete U-turn it does.
Yeah, it's one of those films that if it had carried on the way it had gone and they all ended up getting abducted, it wouldn't have meant anything, it wouldn't have done anything.
No.
But it did something completely different, and it also makes you realise how little you are in the vastness of space and the universe and everything.
Yeah, it was...
But also shows you how connected you are with everything.
Everything's connected.
Because the aliens, or whatever they are, can feel the pain of the family. Yeah. So they're intervening and helping. Yeah. And it works. It really works.
It's closure, isn't it? To give them closure. Because they show where she is and they find her. And really enjoyed it. Good film. Odd film, I have to say. Quite an odd film, but good.
Yeah. All right. So tomorrow night, I'm not too sure what we're watching. I have a list somewhere. It's not on this list at the moment, but it's a surprise. I'm Nate, the Ultimate Movie Geek, and we will see you tomorrow. Please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified every day when we release a video for Halloween Countdown. Sleep tight, everybody.